Margaret thought she was doing the smart thing. At 79, worried that a care home might one day swallow up everything she'd worked for, she signed her house, worth £380,000, straight over to her son, to protect it, to keep it in the family. It felt like the obvious move. 2 years later, it destroyed her. When Margaret's health failed and she needed care, she applied for help with the fees, declaring she owned nothing. But the council investigated, found the transfer, and ruled it was a deliberate attempt to dodge care costs. So they did something most families don't know they can do. They treated Margaret as if she still owned at £380,000. Every penny of it. She was told she had to pay for her own care in full. But she couldn't. The house wasn't hers anymore. Her son owned it. So Margaret was left with mounting care debt and no way to pay it while her home sat in someone else's name. She gave the house away to protect it. And in doing so, she lost control of it, gained a bill she couldn't pay, and got zero of the protection she was after. That is the trap. And thousands of well-meaning parents across Britain are walking straight into it right now, egged on by well-meaning but dangerous advice. Handing your home to your children is one of the most tempting, most common, and most catastrophic mistakes in retirement. There are 4 separate traps hidden inside it, and any one of them can cost your family everything you are trying to save. I'm going to walk you through all 4, and then show you what to do instead, the safer route that actually works. But stay with me, because you have to see why the obvious move fails before the right one makes sense. My name's Robert. Let's get into it. So let's start with why this idea is so tempting. Because the instinct behind it is completely understandable and it's worth respecting before I tell you why it's dangerous. Most parents want 2 things as they get older. First, they want to avoid inheritance tax, the tax the government can charge on your estate when you die. For a lot of families, the home is the single biggest thing they own, and the thought of the taxman taking a slice of it feels wrong. So the instinct is, give it to the kids now, get it out of my estate, problem solved. And second, and even more powerful, is the fear of care costs. People have watched friends and neighbours go into care homes at £4,000, £5,000, £6,000 a month and seen a lifetime of savings and the family home drained away to pay for it. So they think, if I give the house to my children now, the council can't take it later. On the surface, both of those instincts make perfect sense. Get the house out of your name and surely it's safe from both the taxman and the care home. It feels logical. It feels like taking control. And that is exactly why this trap is so dangerous, because it feels so right. Transferring the deeds is easy. You can do it in an afternoon. But what feels like a clever, protective move is, in reality, opening the door to 4 separate problems that can leave your family far worse off than if you'd done nothing at all. Let me show you why. 1 trap at a time. Before I name the 4 traps, I want you to understand the single biggest thing people get wrong about this, because it underpins all of it. People assume that once the house is out of their name, it's out of reach, gone from the estate, beyond the taxman, beyond the council, safe. But the law doesn't work on whose name is on the deed. It works on who is actually benefiting from the property and on why you gave it away. And those 2 questions, are you still benefiting and were you trying to dodge a bill, quietly unravel the whole plan. Because here's the reality. Most parents who give their home to their children carry right on living in it. Of course they do. It's their home. But the moment you do that, in the eyes of the taxman, you haven't really given it away at all. And separately, if you made the gift because you were frightened of care fees, the council is allowed to look straight through it as though it never happened. So the very reasons you did it, to save tax, to protect against care costs, are the very things that cause it to fail. And on top of those 2, there are 2 more traps waiting. A capital gains tax bill that can land on your children, and the loss of control over your own home, which can turn into a nightmare if life throws a curveball. 4 traps? Let me take you through each one. And then the safer path, right after this. Before I walk you through all 4 traps and exactly what to do instead, One quick thing for those of you who'd rather have this whole subject written down. In plain English, to keep and go through with your family. Everything I cover on this channel, the family home, care costs, inheritance tax, wills and power of attorney, the state pension, pension credit, the traps and the deadlines that catch people out. I've put into one plain English guide, the UK Pensioner Survival Playbook for 2026 and 2027. No jargon, nothing you need a solicitor to translate. If you'd like it by your side, the link is in the description below at robertretires.com/UK. That's it. Now, here are the 4 traps hidden inside gifting your home. And then, the route that actually protects your family. Trap number 1 is the big one, and it's the reason the tax saving you're chasing usually never happens at all. It's called the gift with reservation of benefit. Here's what it means in plain English. There's a rule that says if you give something away, but you carry on benefiting from it, then as far as the taxman is concerned, you haven't really given it away. And what's the classic example? Parents who sign the house over to the children, but keep living in it, rent-free for years. You've handed over the deeds, but you're still living there, still benefiting. So the taxman looks at that and says, this doesn't count. The house stays in your estate for inheritance tax exactly as if you'd never given it away. Think about how cruel that is. You've given up ownership of your own home, taken on all the risks of doing so, which I'll come to. And yet you've gained absolutely nothing on the tax front because the house is still counted as yours when you die. You get all of the downside and none of the benefit. And here's the kicker, because the 7-year clock people talk about, the idea that a gift becomes tax-free if you survive 7 years, that clock never even starts ticking while you're still living there. It's the worst of both worlds. Now, there is technically one way around this rule. You have to pay your children full market rent to live in your own home, properly, reviewed regularly, and they may then have to pay income tax on that rent. So you'd be paying rent on a house you used to own to reduce a tax you might not even owe. For most families, that makes no sense at all. This first trap alone quietly defeats the entire reason most people do this. Trap number 2 is the one that destroyed Margaret in my opening story. Deliberate deprivation of assets. This is the care fee trap, and it's the one people most often try to beat by gifting the house. And it's the one that catches them hardest. Here's the rule. If your local council believes you gave away your home, or any asset, in order to avoid paying for care, they are allowed to completely ignore the gift. They treat you as though you still own it. They call it notional capital, and they charge you for your care based on money you no longer have. And here's the part that makes this so much more dangerous than the tax trap. There is no time limit on this. None. People think if they gift the house and survive 7 years, they're safe. That 7-year idea is about inheritance tax. It does not apply to care fees. The council can look back years, decades, and if the timing suggests you saw care coming, they can rule it deliberate deprivation. So you end up, like Margaret, with a care bill you're legally liable for and a house you no longer own to pay it with. Trap number 3 is the one that quietly lands on the very children you were trying to help. Capital gains tax. Here's what people miss. Right now, your home is almost certainly free of capital gains tax because of something called private residence relief, the relief you get on the home you actually live in. But the moment you gift it to your children and they don't live there, that protection is lost for them. So years down the line, when they come to sell it, they can be hit with a capital gains tax bill on all the growth in its value. A bill they would never have faced if they'd simply inherited it from you when you died. Because when a house is inherited, its value is effectively reset for tax purposes, wiping that gain clean. By gifting, instead of leaving it in your will, you can hand your children a tax bill worth tens of thousands of pounds, the exact opposite of what you intended. And trap number 4 is the one that has nothing to do with tax at all, and it's the one that keeps me up at night for these families. you lose control of your own home. Once you sign that house over to your children, it is legally theirs, not yours. And that means their life, with all its unpredictability, is now attached to the roof over your head. Let me spell out what that can mean. If your child gets divorced, your home can be dragged into the divorce settlement, and half of it could end up with a former son-in-law or daughter-in-law you never expected. If your child runs into financial trouble or goes bankrupt, your home is one of their assets, and their creditors can come after it, with you still living in it. If your child dies before you, the house passes under their will, not yours, and could end up with people you never intended, who may not want you living there. And even in the happiest family, if you and your children simply fall out, or they change their mind, you have no legal right to stay in the home you spent your life paying for. You gave the house away to protect your family, but you've handed your own security over to the winds of other people's lives. That is a colossal risk, and no tax saving is worth it. So, if gifting is this dangerous, what should you actually do instead? Let me show you. So here's the do this instead, and it's far calmer and safer than most people expect. For the large majority of families, the truth is this. The best thing you can do with your home is simply keep it, live in it securely, and let it pass to your children when you die through a properly written will. And here's why that's not just easier, but usually better on the tax front too. The government gives most homeowners a special allowance called the residence nil-rate band, an extra slice of inheritance tax relief specifically for passing your home to your children or grandchildren. Combined with the standard allowance, many couples can pass on a substantial estate, including the home, with no inheritance tax at all, without giving anything away or taking on a single one of those 4 risks. And because it's inherited rather than gifted, that capital gains problem for your children vanishes too. If your estate is genuinely large enough that inheritance tax is a real concern, then the answer is not to hand the deeds to your kids. It's to get proper advice about the tools built for this. That might mean a certain kind of trust set up correctly by a professional. It might mean protecting half the home through the way you own it and the way your will is written, as tenants-in-common, which I've covered in another video. These are real, legal, powerful strategies, but they have to be done properly by someone who knows the rules, tailored to your family. They are worlds apart from the crude, dangerous move of just signing the house over. The simple rule to remember is this: gifting your home away is almost never the answer, and it's usually the most expensive mistake you can make. The safe route is to keep control, use the allowances the law already gives you, and get proper advice for anything more complex. Now, before I let you go, the honest fine print, because this matters. First, everything I've described applies to the general rules across the UK, but the details, especially around tax thresholds and care fee assessments, can differ between England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, and they do change. So treat this as the map, not the turn-by-turn directions for your exact street. Second, I am not saying you can never help your children financially. You absolutely can. And gifting money or assets while you're healthy, with no care need on the horizon and surviving the 7 years, can be a perfectly sensible part of planning. The danger is specifically in giving away the home you live in or making gifts when care is already looming. It's the timing and the reasoning that turn a sensible gift into a disaster. And third, this is genuinely one of the most complex areas in all of personal finance, where inheritance tax, capital gains tax, and care law all collide. And the wrong move is measured in tens or hundreds of thousands of pounds. So please, do not act on this video alone. Before you do anything with your home, sit down with a solicitor or a qualified estate planner, ideally one who specialises in this. A single consultation spent getting it right can protect an asset worth hundreds of thousands and save your family from a Margaret-shaped catastrophe. It is the best money you will ever spend. So let's bring it home. Gifting your house to your children feels like the smart, loving thing to do. but it hides 4 traps that can undo everything. The tax saving that never happens because you still live there. The care fee rule the council can see straight through with no time limit. The capital gains bill you hand your own children. And the loss of control that puts your home at the mercy of divorce, debt, or a falling out. The safe route is almost always to keep your home. Use the allowances the law already gives you and get proper advice for anything more. Don't give away your security to save a tax you may not even owe. If this opened your eyes, do me a favour and share it with someone who's thinking about signing their home over. You might just save their family from disaster. Hit subscribe for more, and if you'd like it all written down in one place, the Pensioner Survival Playbook link is in the description. I'm Robert. Look after yourselves, look after your families, and I'll see you in the next one.